We just had our first read-through for And We Will Eat Grief by Abe Johnson, which was made possible by RDA Producing's Frontera Playwrights Initiative, which is set on assisting in the development of the next great frontier of American playwrights. So we have the creative team of And We Will Eat Your Grief, the playwright Abe Johnson, Ryan Duncan-Ayala, the founder of RDA Producing, and our director, Annika Perez Krikorian. Welcome, y'all.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. That read-through was like straight fire, and it's an incredible weekend because we got democracy back. We took a break, but we're back. Abe, why don't you tell us what And We Will Eat Your Grief is about?
So this play is about a lot of things. I think that's part of the workshop. I think at the core of the play, basically what And We Will Eat Your Grief is about is it's about two sisters who have recently lost a loved one. It never says who the loved one is. And that leads them on a journey to sort of try and find ways to cope, try and find ways to grieve in increasingly absurd ways. And all throughout, they keep regurgitating and pulling zebra cakes from out of them, and kayaking across the stage, and various other surreal moments in the play, until it kind of all comes together at the end to try and figure out what exactly is the right approach to navigating this new and shifting world.
Now, we talked for about half an hour about zebra cakes just half an hour ago. So I am wondering what is so special about zebra cakes for you that it became this like huge allegory for grief?
Yeah. I think regardless, with any play that I work on, like I'm an incredibly visual playwright. Like the first thing I always start with is like some striking image and then try and build a play around like, how do we get there? For zebra cakes specifically, I knew that the idea of like a person pulling some sort of like Little Debbie wrapper out of their mouth was like really, really central to this play. I didn't understand it, but it was something that I wanted to chase and pursue. I think I came to zebra cakes because in earlier drafts I think one of the drafts mixed it with like a zebra cake comes out and then like a Twinkie. And then I thought about like, is Little Debbie gonna sue me? Like what's going on? And so first of all, the first step was to minimize that and just stick to maybe like one striking image. And that led me to, I think to me, zebra cakes are underappreciated and they're so like visually specific. The only thing that comes close is like a cosmic brownie. And I also think it was interesting because it was something that I didn't eat a lot as like a kid. Like I wasn't a big zebra cake person. I was like a honey bun person. So it was something a little bit foreign that I wanted to kind of like grasp on around the image of like, what does it mean to pull a wrapper out of your mouth in like a painful, in a a childhood way.
A lot of this play deals with that sort of culture of being a child but dealing with very adult things. So I am curious, starting with Anika. I mean, you just told me about this, so I need to bring it into the world so everybody else can hear it. What were your middle school songs? We'll start with that.
The middle school song sort of idea in this play, at one point it's like, play a middle school song. And the first song I thought of was Hey Ya by OutKast, iconic anthem. And we talked about this too, but like some of my favorite songs in middle school were absolutely deeply inappropriate. And if you listen to Hey Ya, like the lyrics are so dark, or like they're just kind of sad. Like they're really like they're about like love not being forever. And then he's like, well, you don't want to listen to me, you just want to dance. It's like, it's true, because when people listen to that song, all they do is just like bop, and they don't think about the fact that it's like, love isn't forever. Nobody will love you forever. It's like, ooh. And I think about like Usher, like Yeah by Usher. Should not have been listening to that song in middle school. I have the lyrics right here.
But separate's always better when there's feelings involved. Know what they say, it's nothing lasts forever. This is a really sad individual, whatever your name is, of Outcast, Andre Benjamin.
Andre 3000?
Oh shit, Andre. Okay, so we're learning in real time that I don't know the members of Hey Ya, and for so many years I thought of OutKast.
The members of Hey Ya?
The members of OutKast, and for a very long time, I thought "Hey Ya" was by the Black Eyed Peas, and that's just the truth. That's just the truth, and there's no avoiding it anymore. Did not know
That's
Andre
blasphemy.
3000 was in OutKast though. No.
Oh,
I think
okay, wow.
Annika's about to call this interview off.
Sorry. Cut the cameras dead ass. I'm sorry. What? Cut
Get that camera out of my face.
I cannot believe this.
Yeah,
I'm shook.
devastated for all of us.
Oh, this is wonderful.
Ryan, this is so wonderful. What was your middle school song?
I mentioned a little bit earlier, middle school is a very, I don't think about middle school ever. I think, I've tried to forget all about middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say, but I do have a very specific memory of Adele's "Set Fire to the Rain." I just remember that very specifically in my middle school auditorium during one act theater rehearsals, whatever it was.
Did any of you see her on SNL recently? Yeah, that was, I felt really bad.
Wow, I have to disagree. I thought she did really well. I thought the episode was really good. The only one was that that African safari sketch. I don't know how that made it out of the writer's room. I think I think it was supposed to be sarcastic, right? And it just didn't, it felt really tone deaf. It didn't achieve the tone it wanted. And that was the only one where I was like, guys, wow, it is not 2010 anymore. We cannot do this anymore. But I mean, she's always been very funny. I think she's naturally has a sort of vibrant personality. So I thought she did really well. But I do think that the culture of musicians needing a personality to be marketable is bad. I think that they exploited the fact that she's funny in interviews and is quirky or whatever when she takes awards. You're like, great, then she can act and she can do this. And it's true that's we shouldn't do that. Just leave her alone. She's fine. But I thought her episode was really good. So,
and I feel like, people who are performers, whatever medium they choose, it's clear if you want to be an actor, then do that. But if you want to be a musician and you are comfortable enough just writing songs, that's where you express yourself. And I agree, that should be enough for these people.
But also do whatever you want to do.
Also do whatever.
Be a multi-hyphenate artist, be an actor, director, singer, musician, mime, if you want. If you want. Look at Usher. He's a great mime. He's one of the best mimes out there.
Yeah, he goes to France every week, does it on the street. No, but I saw him as Billy Flynn in Chicago when I was 10 years old. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I don't know what the critics would say about it, but fuck the critics, it's Usher. Have some respect. He's got the swagger of 1,000 Kings. He was my middle school bop. He really was. All of his love songs also are kind of sad though. He's talking to this girl and he's like, I really like you, but you remind me of a girl that I once knew, so I can't really date you. And it's savage. It is savage. Abe, what was your middle school song?
I was on the other end of the spectrum from y'all because I was sitting in my room quietly listening to Regina Spektor and just taking in every lyric. I also vividly remember, this was very indicative of my childhood, but Enya was really big in my house. Enya and Yanni, and we'd all sit as a family and have our little, flower child moment to Enya and Yanni. So mine was a very quiet, thoughtful. I got angstier probably more towards high school, but I was Regina Spektor was a bop. She still is a bop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Folding Chair is a bop. She's my favorite Russian. She spoke at my graduation too because she went to Purchase.
What?
And, she was the eyes see, the hands make, and hearing that after Chuck Schumer tell his story about that girl he met for the 20th time that day. the 20th graduation. It was evocative to see like an artist still speaking um so like raw and so honestly, and it translates in all of her music. I love her a lot. So I guess the next question I have for y'all is like, when did you guys discover theater? How did it come into your life specifically? And anybody could answer it. I'm just gonna throw it up in the air. Somebody in left field catch it.
I started doing community theater when I was 8. My very first production was Oliver. Obviously, how could it not be? It was great. I mean, I started doing summer theater every year after that. I eventually stopped acting and did like running crew as like an 11-year-old pushing set pieces, just casually. Around high school, in 2015 or so, some of my friends started their own theater group. They didn't like what was happening that summer in like our town. And so they just decided to do their own thing and started their own theater company. And I was able to be a part of it. We did Into the Woods Junior. It's only the first act of Into the Woods. It's iconic.
And it's not Into the Woods.
It's only the first act.
Not it.
And so it took on like an educational approach. Like they brought in people to workshop with the students, mostly because we couldn't afford to buy the scripts yet. It was the first time I thought, wow, I could like create something, not like be a part of something, but create something. And so I was still stage managing at the time, but eventually arts admin happened. And now arts administrator and producer.
Hell yeah. I'm curious to hear then like what sort of drew you to producing from arts admin?
Sure. So I work in development, which is essentially fundraising, which is really great. I love making connections with people. I like to work on the individual giving side, which is just like making connections with the donors and then asking them for money and then throwing parties when they give us money, which I love. But after a few months of working, it felt like I needed something artistic to do again. I was reading scripts, but I had no like artistic outlet. And then quarantine came around, and the studio theater in DC was offering a producing for actors class, and I was not an actor or a producer, but Maria Goyanes, who is the artistic director of Woolly Mammoth, was teaching the class. So I was like, I'll pay whatever it takes. Let's just do this. And it was just wonderful. And so it was really a foot in the door. Got to meet some really amazing people, and we talked. It was artistic again. Mm-hmm. We got to come up with concepts to actually put into practice, and it was really wonderful. So that's actually how I started my first process, which was a online virtual dating show, and finding the theater in that, like the theatricality in that, and also just like really bringing the forefront of my mission forward, which is like to give access and visibility to people you don't see often. So having a BIPOC centered dating show was kind of everything I could have ever dreamed of.
That is amazing. Talk more about Love in Lockdown. Tell the audience. Season 2, am I right?
Season 2 is going. Let's go. Yeah, so Love in Lockdown is great. We're on season 2. It's 4 weeks each season. We start with 1 bachelor or bachelorette and 10 contestants. And each week the field gets cut in half. The audience votes one person through. We like to be as interactive as possible, and it's just really the slogan of the show is love that looks like the world we live in. So whatever that means, we're really looking forward to having a bisexual and a queer season. We always want to make sure our main person is a person of color, and our goal is to be committed to having at least 60% BIPOC representation within the the contestants.
It's true, because you see on reality TV nowadays that it's the skinny white girl, and if she really wants, she can just like leave halfway through the season now, I guess, and just like take the man with her who she like really vibes with, and she was like, I don't even remember what show I'm on. This is it. This is love. I found it. So that's it.
Yeah,
and
we love that.
But you know what? You can't choose who you love. It's like, it's both things. You know what I mean? Like, she is there for that shit, but like she could have like not made Claire. I'm talking to you, Claire. Yeah, she could have handled things better. Anika, weren't you a contestant on Love and Lockdown? Isn't that true?
Well, you're correct. I was a contestant for one episode. I don't know how much I can talk about it.
I will go ahead and say it. We had one contestant drop out, and Anika needed to step in, and we were very grateful for it. But we also did not want to take up 4 weeks of Anika's life, because apparently everyone had fallen in love with her during that one episode. So we unfortunately had to give her a quick out from the show.
Spoiler alert, it was staged.
No.
Nothing else on the show is ever staged, but Anika's exit was staged.
It was forced.
They dragged her out kicking and screaming. Love and Lockdown Season 2. Give it a watch. Anika, how did you get into the theater? And how did you get over to directing?
Well, I have my classic cocktail party story about coming into theater, which is that I was 3 years old, and my mother put me in a theater day camp at Seattle Children's Theater because it was cheaper than daycare. So she put me in the class. They took us to the theater and turned off all the lights for some reason. And I got super freaked out, and I started crying, and I ran out of the theater, and I told my mom I was never going to go back, and I didn't go back all week, and she was very upset because she lost all her money for that week because I refused to go back, and I've loved it ever since. So I think, yeah, I after that, I obviously came back. I did a lot of classes through Seattle Children's Theater. Shout out to Seattle Children's Theater. Best program, in one of the best programs in the country. I think it's amazing.
What about them is so dope?
They I think they care about they care about not shielding children. They're a really good balance between like obviously creating content for children and finding moments when theater for children can still be risky and interesting and maybe hard and something to talk about. I mean, I remember obviously like they did stuff like Go Dog Go, and they still do, Goodnight Moon and all those, which are great because it exposes children to theater at a young age. But also I remember I saw A Tale of Two Cities at Seattle Children's Theater, and I remember when I don't remember his name anymore, but when the main character, spoiler alert for Tale of Two Cities, it's 100 years old, but if you don't know, at the end, the main character is executed by a guillotine, and they like did it, and it was like he like put his head in the thing, and it went down, and then the lights came out, the lights went off, and that was the end of the play, and that was like the most like shocking and upsetting thing I'd ever seen in my life, and I was like, I love this. I love this. I love that I'm so upset right now. Like and they did that. Like they really found a way to like continue to make content and programming for children that is still not treating them like they're dumb. And their drama school is incredible. It's so great, and I really hope that it can come back full force. It was the reason that I did theater. I did the drama school every summer. I did the drama school productions, and they made me love theater.
That's fucking beautiful. How did you get over to directing?
Yeah, I mean, I was an actor first, primarily for a long time, but I've always been a bossy bitch. I I found that I think it was kind of natural a lot of times in shows. As I got older, I kind of became like the cast member who was like the mom, and also people would like come up to me and be like, what do you think about this? I was like, I think you should do this. I think this makes more sense. I know that he told you to do this, but you should actually go the other way and do this. And I was
Oh,
like, yeah,
God.
you're right.
Yeah.
I know. In retrospect, don't
Worst
do that.
nightmare.
If you're an actor who does that,
That was a
just talk
lot
to
of
me.
high school, man. All these like I when I had a lead, the older kids would always be like, "Yeah, man. I mean, that was a good choice, but like, make another next time." And I'm like,
Okay, but they
"Oh,
asked me.
okay."
They
What?
asked me. I was asked for my opinion. But that was the beginning. Because I was like, why, like people were like, what did you think about that? And I was like, you want me to tell you? Okay, I mean, I'll tell you because I have opinions. But then yeah, and then in college I had to take directing as part of my theater curriculum. And I was like, yep, this makes sense. And especially in a program in college, a lot of the theater I did, I kind of had to do myself. It was a sort of DIY program, in that if I wanted, I had to make the art I wanted to see in the world, to totally mutilate an overused Gandhi quote.
I've never heard it.
But and it's be the change you want to see in the world, but I made the art I wanted to see in the world. R.I.P. Gandhi, I'm sorry. But R.I.P. big ups to Gandhi. But yeah, I like that program. That was what I got, was that if you want to make art, you have to do it yourself. And if you want to have bold theater, you need to have the vision. So I directed as much as I could in college, and I found, especially, I did a production of Constellations by Nick Payne, where I cast 6 people, and we did what's called a splash production.
And this is a 2-person
where
play, so that was a real
yes,
choice.
it's a 2-person play, and what we did was I rehearsed them sort of in a cycle. They all rehearsed with each other, but nobody ever really rehearsed the whole play with one person. And then the night of the show, I would pull 2 names from a hat, and they would be the 2 who would go on that night.
Don't you love
And
theater like that too? I
love
love, like,
it was
I remember when BJJ, Brandon Jacob Jenkins, he like made this play called Everybody, which was, I believe, based on, does anybody know what it was based on? It was based on some Greek.
Everyman.
Everyman. Thank you.
mhm.
Obviously. And yeah, the entire cast would be completely different. And Donia Love did that recently with this play 1 and 2, which is about like the Black queer experience with HIV. And it was like taking that risk is just like going an extra step in the theater to like really like more than flex your instrument as an artist, just really understands like the whole spine of a play, like almost from a director's perspective too.
Yeah, and I think what's exciting about that, I mean, that's still, I think, my favorite production I've ever done, because it feels like it gets to the heart of the magic of theater, which is watching people make a connection on stage. When you feel the energy between performers, it's heart-stopping, and seeing them walk out on stage and see each other and see who they were going to do it with and just have to keep going, that was like, oh, it was amazing. It just seeing that one moment like made me cry every night, because it was such an experience, and they were bouncing off each other and their chemistry and their line reads, and they would surprise each other and you could see it happen. And that was like, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep creating moments like this where we can find joy and catharsis and community in a space that is exciting but also safe.
Totally. Safe is definitely a industry priority now for sure, and that goes perfectly with what you said about being able to surprise each other. And I miss that. That's what I sort of miss sometimes from like theater that I see a lot, is that like everybody just rehearses what they know, and like that is great. That is one school of thought for sure, but I always just know you can feel those moments when like people are actually talking to each other. like beyond the lines and making choices that they know it so well, that they feel so comfortable and so safe to do it, that they can surprise each other comfortably. And I love that that's like a priority for you. I love that. Now, Abe, what happened to you? How did you get into theater?
What happened to me? Good question. Yeah, no, I think I originally had always wanted to be in theater. Like I grew up like watching Sound of Music like every single day, like watching Chorus Line as like a 4-year-old, deeply scarring, but also very formative. Um, and so I think that I had always had that like pulsing in my life of like theater and performance was something that existed and that I did in my backyard. I didn't really start to pursue it until occasionally in like middle school. I would audition for the big school musical because we did like one musical across like all the divisions of our school. And so I remember being like a 12-year-old and walking into the audition for Hello Dolly, like next to all the high schoolers, and like walking in and saying, I want to play the lead male role. And they would say, 12-year-old kid we've never seen before, you're 12, you can't do this. And I remember one time for Hello Dolly specifically, I remember they cast me in like the ensemble as like a 12-year-old. And I remember going to school the next day and going up to the director and saying, hi, like I need to quit this production because I can't afford to waste my time.
Yes!
Yes, Abe!
So that's 12-year-old Abraham for you. And then, so that was, you know, a pause in my theater career, apparently. And later on in high school, we got a new theater director who he was really, really lovely and just like such a like, you know, bursting, energizing person. And specifically his focus was bringing in people who had never really done theater before. And until then, until like 11th grade, I had never really done formal theater before. And I got cast because our school, again, had like a very minimal theater program, like almost nothing going on. But we did Sound of Music that year, formative journey coming together. And we did Sound of Music, and there were like no boys in the entire theater program at my school. And so that led to me getting cast as Captain Von Trapp, alongside like the 2 other boy options there. And so that kind of like sealed the deal. Like from the second there, I got into acting like really, really head over heels. And it wasn't until I was a senior, I had also been like writing along this entire time, and writing has always been something really, really central in my life. I had won this short story award that was like a national award type thing, and one of my teachers contacted me and was like, have you ever considered writing like play type stuff? And I said, playwrights are all dead. Like there's no such thing as a playwright. That's not a thing. And he said, yes, that is, and you should try it. And so basically from that point, I ended up writing my first play because he kept on, you know, asking me to. And we ended up producing that at the end of my senior year. So from there, that was a very, very, you know, bare bones. I was the director, I was the producer, I was a stage manager, even though I didn't know what a stage manager was. And that kind of like set me off to, you know, do a lot of self-production type stuff in college.
Wow. I love that. I love that like you ended up finding the thing that was always in the background ended up becoming like the crux of what you do as an artist. That's
Julie Andrews is, you know, that's the center.
Julie Andrews is the center. I was gonna say the only distinct memory I can connect with the Sound of Music in high school was a Vin Diesel movie called The Pacifier, right?
I love The Pacifier.
Oh man, I think we all remember The Pacifier. It was a cornerstone in all of our lives.
I've never seen it.
Well, let me tell you, Vin Diesel goes undercover for a family as their babysitter. There's a moment where like this like the teenage boy in high school, he's all angry and stuff, and like I don't know, maybe he like plays the guitar sometimes, he's so angry. And then Vin Diesel goes to this kid's school. I don't even know if he had a visitor's pass, right? Like, did y'all hear that?
These are the questions.
But He went into this kid's school, went into his locker, and found a swastika like
Armband.
band like you'd see in the producers. Man, take your hat, your coats, and your swastikas. But literally, he like went around the school and was like, "What the fuck is this kid doing?" And then he just hears, "You are 16, going on 17." So that's what the Sound of Music means to me.
I feel like we also need to put some respect on you using the phrase "that kid." That kid was Jesse McCartney in one of his only acting roles.
No! Wait, no! For real? No way, really?
You're telling me the turtle from the mask?
Now Jesse McCartney?
That kid.
That kid. Wow.
Wait, for real?
That was Jesse McCartney. I know because I also had like a giant Jesse McCartney poster in my room at the time.
Okay, listen. As a child, I was obsessed with Jesse McCartney. Like, I don't want another pretty face. I don't want just anyone to hold. Like, come on. Like, but I loved the Pacifier, and I never put two and two together. What just happened?
Jesse McCartney almost dated my cousin. He left her a message.
What?
It's like, "Hey, it's Jesse. We met at the bar last night. If you want to hang out, hit me up. Okay, bye." And yeah, that was like, I don't know, around 12, 13 years ago. I love that was Jesse McCartney. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not exactly sure where my life will take me now that I know that information, that I have that knowledge. But
now I need to hear Jesse McCartney singing 16 going on 17. You joking me? If it was Jesse McCartney.
You gotta watch the movie. And Vin Diesel singing "When You're Down and Low," that whole like the
oh my god,
the Peter Panda dance.
Yes, the Peter Panda dance. It's so good. It's just so good.
He uses also the Peter Panda dance at the end of the movie to like, while the family is being held hostage, he did not protect them well enough. He's got to like climb through this underground basement through wires and shit. And the dance that their dead father taught his kids is the dance in order to get around all of these wires. Like it all circles back to itself. That's
so
what
good.
Pacifier means to me. I love Heidi Shrek, man.
I love Heidi Shrek.
I just want to say, I would kill to see Abe doing Eidelweiss as a high schooler.
Believe me, you wouldn't.
But I would.
I think I would.
Abe, ever since you said chorus line, the only thing going through my head is gonorrhea.
Okay, here's the thing, because that's why it scarred me as like a 4-year-old. I was like, I don't know what this word sex is, but I know that it's terrifying and it involves gonorrhea and like some sort of like surprise.
Every time I hear a chorus line, I think of "stand up straight." I can't. I have a pain in my side. Stand up straight. Yeah. Greg taught me about boners. My parents were so upset. I did a chorus line at 13 years old at the Cultural Arts Playhouse. And they kept doing productions of it because their parents kept coming, because a chorus line is like probably the best musical ever made. I truly believe that. It's like
true.
It's so primal, and it's like documentary theater about theater. I don't know, man. I really vibe with it. And I ended up playing Al in it, Richie for 4 very uncomfortable performances, Bobby, and I think Greg at one point. Yeah.
Everyone.
Basically.
Everyone in a chorus line.
Anybody who was somebody in a chorus line was played by me.
Steve, I would kill to see you do Dance 10 Looks 3. That's what I would kill for. Well,
oh no. I gotta say though, what I was saying was like I kept asking my parents questions, I guess, about everything in a chorus line at 13, and they were like, "I can't do this. How do we keep answering these questions right now? We're not ready for this shit. Why is he asking about like Puerto Rican drag queens and like I don't know the answers to these questions?" And
Milky Discharge.
I also fully don't think that the movie had dance belts, because they're out there, like wild, truly wild.
The movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that shit. Wasn't that like not great though?
I mean, 4-year-old Abraham would not have known.
Is very different from the actual musical from what I remember. Do we each have a favorite a chorus line character and why?
Oh gosh.
Do we all know a chorus line?
I saw a chorus line for the first time last year, and I also very much agree that it's probably like one of the most perfect musicals ever written.
Thank you.
So, you know.
Hell yeah. Well, then what's your favorite character, huh? It's so perfect.
What is it? Is it Greg that has like the really great monologue? No, maybe
Paul.
I'm
There
wrong.
are several.
Paul's, yes. Paul is everything to me.
Oh, that shit is devastating.
Sorry, I was watching it. Syracuse University drama students did it, and like again, my first time seeing it, and I was like, oh my goodness, like Paul needs a really good monologue right now. It's so good, and it hits, and I'm like, this is a perfect musical. This is perfect, and I love this so much.
Bring back a good book in musicals, 2021.
Yes.
Where have all the good books gone?
Yo,
Anyway,
everybody.
for obvious reasons, Morales is my favorite Chris.
Amazing. Amazing.
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, gotta be.
Cassie is just the drama, the conflama, the dancing in front of the mirror.
The mirror
The
dance,
dancing.
iconic.
On the charts today. Oh man, then she like slides up there in like one of the recordings, or maybe that was just the actors who did it with me. I personally gotta stick with Anika about this. I think Diana Morales sort of encompasses the entire journey of an actor on that show, and Nothing. I mean, how many covers of Nothing have we seen on YouTube or parody lyrics that like just make the cake for me personally? Yeah, I love a chorus line. It's the OG shit. Somewhere in this room, I
Also,
have my
how
chorus line
badass.
hat.
Oh, you have a chorus line hat?
I do. Hold on.
Wow, fancy. How badass is it though that Cassie was literally written for an actress, and that part is so hard because it was literally written for like a crazy talented actress and no one else can do it like she could. How iconic. What to be like, yeah, you could never do it as good as me because it is me. So chew on that.
Chew on that.
Incredible.
It's true. I think Priscilla Lopez has done so much more for like women in theater than anybody ever realizes. She's like the ultimate Broadway diva, and I feel like nobody really knows it. I know some people know it, but not enough. Like, I get it, Barbara, but still, like
For Song in the Heights, incredible. Stops the show. She reads them all to filth, and nobody ever talks about it.
Yeah, and she breaks it down. Like it's a totally bipartisan breakdown of her family. She doesn't take sides. She's like, you were wrong, but you were wrong. I mean, he was worrying about you all night. He might be wrong, but come on. And I'm living for her. Only an actress like that is capable of doing that. And there's this woman, when I did a production of In the Heights one time. It might have happened at one point. I can't recall if that's true or not, but let's say it is. And there was this awesome actress who's like now a great like recording artist too, and worked at like Berkshire Theater, and she's awesome. And her name is Lauren Baez. And that's the moment where like you really get to meet this character. It's her song, and it's like pretty much her only song in the show. And we hadn't really, I remember the first time seeing this woman do it, and she was like only 18 years old, and we were all about to go off to college, and she was just she brought us all down, and we were like, how is she like the highlight of this show? This is crazy, this is lunacy. But like to the power of like a incredibly strong Latino woman with like great acting chops, it's unbeatable. You can't stop it. It's unstoppable. Election, huh? So I guess we're filming this the day after Joe Biden was projected president-elect, after like 4 days of like unacceptable waiting for everybody. But I guess it's acceptable, considering the outcome is saving democracy and shit. So there's that. What were your expectations for the election like 2 weeks ago? Honestly.
I didn't want to get my hopes up, but I think in a way my mind was trying to reason with itself like, no, exactly how it played out is how it's going to happen. Like, we're going to think that, DJT won on night one, and then we're going to realize as the week goes on that Biden won, and everything's going to be okay. And that's what I wanted to tell myself. But I was also like, don't. And then like 2 days before election, I was like, wait, but Texas might go blue though. And like, which is very incredibly dumb of me to think, but also I'm from Texas. So like, I lived through the Beto O'Rourke, Ted Cruz era. And so I was like, Beto did that. Like, he came within 2 points in Texas, and like, people like Ted Cruz more than they like Trump, right? Which is like a hot take. Yeah, by default, exactly. Especially in Texas. And so I was like, Texas might turn blue. And then that didn't happen. And I was like, never mind, you're right.
Have you guys seen that video of Ted Cruz playing Reverend Hale in the Crucible at Harvard?
No.
No.
All right, here we go. We're going to get this up. We're going to show it to you. And I hope copyright laws I hope Ted Cruz sues me. I really do.
I hope Ted Cruz puts a copyright strike on this.
Yeah. Yes.
Regular viewer, Ted Cruz.
It was so easy to find it. There's a loop of it for over 10 hours. Jesus Christ.
Why am I persecuted? Why am I persecuted?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
I feel like that's all we need to see. Yeah. I feel like we got it. I agree, though, that there were definitely... I had, like, suspicions that this might happen, but I do live in New York, and I think all of us live in, anarchistic jurisdictions, anocratic jurisdictions, right? Yeah, because you're in Seattle. So that's just, by the way, congrats on Seattle's not in Oregon. Seattle's in Washington. Oregon, though, legalized. You're learning a lot about what I don't know, and I don't know how I feel about it, but it's happening. Oregon legalized crack.
They decriminalized all drugs.
Decriminalized.
They did. I don't think they legalized it. I think they just
very different. I think
Whatever.
I think there's some sort of a provision that like now, if you're caught with a hard substance, they send you to rehab instead of jail, which is how it should be. Yeah.
Damn, finally, about time, man. Because especially with like the opioid epidemic that has been like pretty rampant over the past couple of years. I think they're starting to see that, like, and I mean, what's crazy is that a large number of it is happening to, I believe, more like poor white people than people of color this time around. So what a surprise that only in this epidemic, which is mostly affecting white people, that gets decriminalized. But yeah, where were all of you yesterday when you found out?
I was in my living room, like right over there. Yeah, and it came totally unexpectedly. I was also watching Schitt's Creek, so it was like this like very light, thing, and then me and my boyfriend both gasped and looked at our phones. But also in Atlanta too, which was like another like huge like Georgia what? Georgia who? That was really, really, I think in some ways I think I had expected it in some ways, but also like voter suppression. And I don't know. I have so many feelings about like Georgia as a state and like the South politically. But Stacey Abrams put in the work. So many other organizers along with her put in the work. Yeah, and we still have a lot of work to do. I mean, we still have those Senate seats to really arm wrestle in the streets for.
If we can just fucking tie it, then Mamala will just like save abortion and healthcare. That would be dope. We just need that Jew. We need that really hot Jewish dude who's like bar mitzvah. I would totally have gone to just to like hang out with him because I have a massive crush on him. Jon Osoff, right? Is that his name?
King.
Yes.
Oh, thirst trap.
My
And Warnock, right? That's the other dude.
Yeah.
Warnock, yeah.
Warnock. Yeah. I hear Warnock might have a better chance than Ossoff right now. I think he's like down a couple points from what, or just like 1 point, like 1.2. It's so tight this year, which is so cool.
It really shouldn't be like such. Like they're running against Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, who like are both like being investigated for insider trading. Like, why is it this close? You know. So hopefully they just
like Roy Moore. That's why. Or they're not.
But also, PSA that because it is a runoff election, anyone who's 17 right now and will be 18 before January 5th can register to vote in that runoff election. And that is a big push that they're making to get those 17-year-olds who might have had that political wave from this last election to get more involved in politics, to get them registered in Georgia. So I don't know how far this reaches, but everyone should know that if you are 17 in Georgia and you will be 18 before January 5th, register to vote because you can vote in that runoff election and maybe help close the margin a little bit.
Oh my God. There are definitely queer kids who like love anime and musical theater and be more chill from Georgia that will hear this shit. So that is y'all come through. That's pretty much it. Where were you, Annika?
I was asleep and then I was at work. I have been pretty I've been trying to actually not watch the news obsessively or like check the New York Times every 5 seconds. I think for me, I've been just so tired, and it's been, you know, it's been a year to be politically active. But at a certain point, I think I had to step back from myself and think like, as a person of color, as a woman, with Amy Boney Barrett, Boney Buttface, sorry, rude. I was like, I think at a certain point I need to take care of myself, and not feel that I have to keep myself in this cycle of anxiety and fear and despair. And it's been happening for so long for especially for Black people in this country, but also for Latine people. It's been hard, and especially hearing about like Florida, so many Latine people who are like, yeah, Trump. I was like, I'm tired.
I can't
tired.
imagine.
So
That's got to be like the most frustrating because I mean, it's not exactly the same, but like on Long Island, all of my everybody I went to high school with basically voted for Trump is what the numbers show. And I like wanted to believe that there are people, and there are like exceptions of people because they're the only people that like respond when I feel this way. And I don't know what to do, but I appreciate, I don't know if you saw that thing that Telemundo did, but they were like, these are the Cubans that voted and these are the Puerto Ricans, because they wanted to be like, this is not us completely. But I empathize because the people that are voting for Trump are voting out of the fear mongering that he's doing about, you know, communism, probably, I imagine. And calling Joe a socialist and shit.
And a lot of people are one issue voters too, and that issue is Castro, and that issue, like the legacy of Castro. And also apparently I read an article that was saying a lot of Latine voters, literally a lot of men also, which is a separate thing to talk about, which is Latine men and their issue with powerful white men, voted because of The Apprentice. because they're like, he looks like a boss, so he can do it. Which is but yeah, I was cutting myself. I was like not really watching because I was very tired, so I didn't check until I left for work, and then I saw it, and I think I was like, okay, but I'm not celebrating yet. I think obviously it's great, and a lot of people need to celebrate, and I validate that feeling. There were people honking and people in the streets, and everyone was like, there were people crying, and I'm not there because I'm like, until he's hand up swearing in, I'm not
Thank
gonna.
you. That is what I have been
rejoice.
saying since he swung Michigan, since he swung Wisconsin at 5 a.m. on Wednesday
But
morning.
I also validate that people need it. I understand that need to just be like, let's have something happy. Let's have some victory. I understand that need to let that loose. But for me, I'm so tired, as I've said multiple times. I'm just so tired that I was like, good. Okay, let's see what bullshit Trump tries to pull in the courts. Let's see what happens with this Georgia runoff and the Senate. Let's see, what happens. Let's see what happens. I'm really happy, but I won't be fully happy until it's done.
Yeah. I agree. What are you gonna say, Ryan?
Oh yeah, I was gonna just comment on the Cubans thing and how like misinformation in specifically South Florida is so bad because of the QAnon presence, and like that they did a research study lately. I think a New York Times article came out about it yesterday that like wherever there's a heavy QAnon presence has been like the place for the highest misinformation, where polls got things wrong specifically, like Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Florida, where there's huge QAnon populations, is like where we expected the biggest like Joe Biden blowout, and like it was such a narrow margin because like that presence really messed with the polls, and so yeah, having that like misinformation, especially for Cuban voters that are rightfully not sure about socialism or are against socialism, like it's a huge issue. But for me personally, I was laying in bed right behind myself right here, and my friend texted me, "Welcome to Biden's America," and I was like, "What?" And yeah, I got on Twitter and I was like, "Oh, look at that, cool."
That's incredible. It should also be noted that like Biden is the first president in I think like over 30 to 40 years to like lose Ohio and win the presidency. And that goes to show that like there really are no rules. And you want to, because I was with one of you who said this, that was like, I don't want to believe it. And I still don't. And I don't think I'm going to until his hand is on that Bible, like you said, Anika. So I definitely am optimistic. We still have work to do in Georgia, and once we get that, once we at least tie it, then like our rights are secured. And my biggest hope and fantasy is that Merrick Garland gets packed into the fucking court, because that man is doing like Zoom reenactments of Supreme Court cases, and that is not the shit he needs to be fucking doing. He needs to be in the court. So that's all I gotta say about that. Last couple of questions. What was the last play you saw before the pandemic?
The last play I saw before the pandemic, I remember it was I was working at the Seattle Rep as directing and casting intern. So the last play I saw was Jitney by August Wilson, with also starring an actor who has since passed away, which is really
Anthony Chisholm?
August Wilson. Yeah, he was in that production. And
Yeah,
he
was
was
amazing. I saw
incredible.
that shit too, because
He was
it was at the
so
same
good.
production.
It was the Manhattan Theater Club version. It was a little bit different cast except for Anthony, and yeah, it was the last one I saw. And it was as theaters were emptying out and people were coming. It was very empty, and I was sitting right next to a woman who was like coughing the whole time, and I was very like distracted by that. But it was a really good production, and I'm sad that it was the last play I saw though. because if I had known, you never know. And I was like, well, yeah, that really was the last play I saw.
Yeah. I remember seeing this play called The Siblings Play by Rendar. So you all know
Ren.
her?
Oh, we love Ren in this house.
She's an O'Neill peep.
Oh my God. Do y'all know David Zhang too by any chance?
I've read his stuff before.
I went to college with him. He's like he's my guy. I love that dude.
Yeah.
Ren's writing is straight out of like that. I think it needs more justice than it got.
Justice
I think
for
it
Ren
needs to be adapted, honestly, because it needs to be adapted for film or something like that. I know they recorded it, so they have that. They do have it, thank God. But I saw it on the like second to last night, and there were talk about accessibility and like introducing like the youth to theater. There were a ton of young kids there, so the engagement was like really high. And they packed that shit up until they packed it like a lunch box, I pack my weed box. Like they packed it up to the max as much as they could for like a big trip. But basically we were at the edge of the stage because there was so little room, and you could feel the energy of the importance of what she was writing and how unique it was and how special it was. And that boy, there's all of them are amazing, but Ed Ventura, who's like he was in Zhang's reading at the Public. I saw him, and he was in this, and he blows me away, man. He's an incredible actor. And Mateo Ferro, who played that younger brother who he was in The Heights at the Kennedy Center, and he's only 17 years old, and he has that energy that like only like young wiry kids could have, like that Chalamet energy of like, I have so much energy. And like the way he uses his instrument is just, I learned so much from him and watching people like that young kid. And like he's gonna have like a fat ass career, that's for sure. It's gonna be dope. Abe, what was the last thing you saw?
Oh God, I believe this is the last one I saw, and it is, I think, an interesting story. But I was an apprentice at the O'Neill Theater Center in their development office, and so basically that meant that for the first time I got to see like a ton of theater all over the New England area, we were, one of the apprentice duties was that we were driving the buses of the students to go see plays, and so we were going to see Radio Golf at Trinity Rep, and like I believe it was like early March. And I remember I had been like terrified of driving the vans. I hadn't been required to yet, and we drove the kids in these old vans from New London, Connecticut, all the way to Providence. And I had basically one apprentice would drive there and one apprentice would drive back. I was terrified, so I was like, I'm gonna go second. Like I need time to like prepare myself for this. And so I remember sitting in Radio Golf with all the students around us and just being like, oh my God, this play is like so amazing, like so beautiful. And I remember like right around the middle, like right around like intermission, I was like, I don't know if I feel so hot. This is interesting. And fast forward to about 10 minutes before the play ends, there is a like stunning monologue going on stage. Again, August Wilson, like poetry. It's happening on stage.
I can't believe 2 of your productions were August Wilson productions. That's a testament to regional theater. He's fucking everywhere.
Honestly, truly. Another testament to regional theater was that I remember during this monologue, like last scene, I stand up and like my internal thought is like, I'm going to throw up. And this had never happened to me before in the theater. I would never. And I get up and I have to like climb, kick, crawl over the students, over like older women watching Radio Golf. And I barely made it to the lobby, and just like, luckily I found a trash can, but it was a trial. I did not have to drive back, luckily. But yeah, that was a very miserable night of theater for me. And that was,
God, did you have coronavirus?
No, I think I was just miserable. I think I was just miserable. Yeah.
Lucky.
As someone who drove those vans, I have driven the O'Neill vans, and I feel you.
I don't think they're that bad. I don't.
Okay, it's not that they're bad. It's that you have to concentrate everything you have to make sure that you always remember that you are driving a van. Because the scariest thing about driving a van is sometimes you forget you're driving a van, and then you have to like change lanes, or you have to find a parking spot, or you have to back up, God forbid. And then you're like, oh shit, I'm in a big fucking vehicle, and I have to make sure that none of the people in this vehicle die. And I just remembered that because I thought I was in a Prius. It's scary, okay? Don't invalidate my experience.
Have
No,
y'all
they-
ever had to parallel park in that van?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, I had. I did. I had to parallel park that van.
Was it
And I did it.
horrifying?
Damn it.
Easy.
Help.
Okay, let me say this. I'm from like pickup truck country.
That's why.
so-
I'm from Prius country.
There it is. Yeah, so like the first time they took us to the Ocean Beach Park to try to like drive around and like Eric gave us the test, and I did the whole thing, and he was like, "Yeah, you're fine." He was like, "You did great." He was like, "You drove pickup trucks growing up?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he was like, "All right, that makes sense." And so I mean,
Gregory,
but I get
let me
it.
just say this.
I get it, but like, love that. I
Hashtag
love
millennial
those vans.
summer.
Oh man, that's incredible, man. I'm gonna have to. I hope I find my way over there too. So y'all
You
make it
should.
sound like
It's
For
a
sure.
magical place.
Ryan, what was the last play you saw?
Sadly, it was not August Wilson. It was Amadeus.
What?
Yeah,
Oh.
it was Syracuse Stage's opening and closing night of Amadeus, and it was being recorded, luckily, but it was just like a really special moment because we had the opening night dinner. Totally irresponsible now looking back at it. Like before, like we were like, okay, well, we'll cut the size of everything in half, and it won't be a buffet, but it'll be fine. And so now I'm like, we had a dinner like as coronavirus was happening. What did we think? We saw the show, and I don't know if y'all know the script, but it's just like the very beginning is like on this the last night of my life for one performance only. Like, yo, it was surreal. We were just like, and it was Jason O'Connell was playing the lead, who is the husband of Kate Hamill, and he's iconic. And so we're just, yeah, it was amazing, but just really sad because like the show was perfect for the occasion. Yeah.
Honestly, people are talking about making theater shorter, and I agree. We should all hope to just see a tight 60 someday. But also bring back 3-hour epics. And I'm not talking about The Inheritance. Fuck The Inheritance. I'm sorry, that's a very strong opinion. I hate that
cool.
fucking play.
Thank you
But
for
no,
saving me from
bring back 3 to 4 hour epics. I want it.
Yeah.
I want multiple bathroom breaks. Give me a fucking opera of a play like Angels in America, and I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it if it's good, but it's not The Inheritance because The Inheritance sucks.
Mhm.
Fuck
Give
The
me-
Inheritance. I'll say it again.
Wow. Say it
Give
again.
me the ring cycle.
Fuck The Inheritance. Give me the ring cycle. Give me a marathon of anything. I think that's what I want, even though that's very not COVID friendly. When we can do that again, I want fucking marathon theater again. I want you to be tired. I want it to be a full body experience.
I had this mentor who in college, he was like the only person to believe I was good at anything, and he ended up passing away 2 weeks before the finals of the students unexpectedly, and me and my friend were his TA, and the one thing he like implemented in me was like, just please read August Wilson, and because it's not about you, but you need to know it, and you need to be able to stand up for it. And I'm like,
Shakespeare's not about me.
yeah, exactly. And literally my hope when we get out of this is that this industry group that's sort of emerging. I'm hoping that the epics that they could do, I know Denzel tried to do it with adapting. He promised to adapt all of the Century Cycle. I would love to see the Century Cycle told like chronologically, like on Broadway though, in some capacity.
Yes.
That shit would be
Make people
crazy.
come to the theater for a week. Make theater a daily ritual.
Yeah.
That's I of course, and also people are like, fuck long plays, who needs 3 acts anymore? I understand. Again, would love to see a good tight 60. If your play doesn't need to be long, don't make it long. But also tight 60s and week-long plays.
And
I want both.
74s. Look at African Mean Girls. That shit didn't need to be any longer than it was, and it felt like 2 hours, and like in a
Yes.
fulfilling way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Last question. What theater have you seen made during the pandemic that taught you something about theater you didn't know before the pandemic?
Well, I have to have to shout out the one that obviously everyone's talking about. Everyone said it, but Circle Jerk. And the reason I say Circle Jerk is because I respect it. I think it's incredible, and I did not like it. And that's like, I think that is the biggest thing. First of all, I'm so like I'm glad it, we love to see a non-Zoom theatrical online experience. Super sick. The way they pulled it off, incredible. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm like learning is like I'm trying to see everything, right? I'm trying to consume as much as I can because I'm so deprived. But it's like, watch stuff you don't like and be okay with seeing theater and having experiences that you don't vibe with, because that's all. Like, if we only curate like our echo chamber of like our taste and our aesthetic, then we're not going to learn anything. We're not going to grow as artists. And so I was like, I respected the hell out of this piece. I think it's an incredible feat of theater and the internet. But also I don't like it.
Do you think that in any way extends to our political sort of environment right now? Because 70 million people just voted for this dude, and yeah, on some level they all uphold white supremacy in one way or another, but at the same time it's like, how are we supposed to continue to like sort of live in our own echo chamber without listening to other people? And I think that's why Biden was like, that's why he won, because he is not that guy. He's from the moment he spoke at 1:30 in the morning in those fucking aviators looking like Snoopy coming straight out of the Red Baron, like he was just like, I don't care who you are. We are all the same. And like, that is a hard pill to swallow, because we are clearly not all the same, and we think very, very fucking differently than 70 million other people.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think you're right that we can't just completely ignore what the thought processes of the people that we disagree with. I totally agree. But in a political sense, I think that it doesn't, it like, I will understand them. I respect Circle Jerk. I don't respect people who don't respect me. So if I think the biggest thing is that a lot of Trump supporters are trying to back off and say, well, Biden's president now, and I respect that, and we're all good, right? Like, no harm, no foul. I'm like taking this transfer of power fine. And that's what I'm not okay with. I think that you can't pretend like you didn't support someone for 4 years who was racist and xenophobic and homophobic and truly just like morally very, very corrupt. And so I think it is important to understand where they're coming from. And I do. I think that I can understand why people voted for Trump for sure, but they don't need my respect until they earn it, because they never respected me or the people I love. And so I think that's the only way in that it's different, is that theater, even Circle Jerk, which yes, did, like we talked about this a little bit, but it did punch down sometimes, which is not for me theater that I like. But I still feel that if theater is willing to embrace me, I will embrace it, right? And I don't know that theater has fully embraced everybody yet, which is, it's hard because I love it. But I can respect Circle Jerk's art, but I cannot respect people who don't respect me and then pretend like it didn't happen.
Hey, fucking man, I'm glad that you can make that discernment too, because it's a hard line to walk, and everything is so gray now. But yeah, Ryan and Abe, what stuff have you seen that taught you something about theater that you didn't know, or what do you hope for after the other side of this for theater?
I think it was the first thing, and to be honest, it's been one of the only things that I like remember leaving and being like, okay, like I can love digital theater. I've been so resistant to it before, but Diana O's My Hate Letter to the American Theater was life-changing for me in so many ways. I think first of all, Diana O is just like, give Diana O every coin you have in your pocket. She is doing amazing things. I'm obsessed with her. I think just because I, as an artist, and I think that she really voiced something in that show, which is like, yes, the trauma and grief of like theater in general, but specifically at this pausing moment with theater, trying to figure out like, were we going virtual? What were we doing exactly? The pressure to continue as an artist has been absurd, and it's gross, and I hate it. The idea of like the show must go on is I have so many thoughts about it. But I think that her being able to voice through that show, this idea of like, okay, first of all, can we just like recognize there's a global pandemic going on, thousands of people are dying, and we want to make little skits online. Like there's a little bit of like what the fuck are we doing, y'all? Like, I don't know if theater needs to be at the forefront right now. But I do think that the idea of like art and sustenance and like genuine sustenance is at the core of that play. I mean, the play ends, if you're not familiar with it, the play ends sort of after like kind of reckoning what the fuck has the American theater done to traumatize like women of color's bodies, and to traumatize like alone, like even I as like a white theater artist have been traumatized by theater, and I'm like a pretty safe identity. But the play ends with this like amazing moment of like, let's all just sit and listen to music and jam out, and like Venmo the actors, and specifically Venmo the actors of color for doing the emotional labor of like giving, this experience. And I just think that taught me so much about like reflected grief and reflected trauma with theater, and how do we continue and all this kind of stuff. So that's what I love Diana O. She's amazing.
Hey, fucking man, what a beautiful way to phrase all that. What about you, Ryan?
So I've been thinking about this question a lot while they were talking, but I didn't want to answer this because it feels so self-congratulatory, which I hate. But 24-hour plays nationals, which Keith and I were both a part of, like, I'm not gonna lie, I saw Zoom reading after Zoom reading before that. I saw recorded plays, a few which were I really liked. I liked that the National Theater was doing their thing because I love the National Theater. Amadeus from the National Theater was iconic.
Oh, that shit
It was so good.
It's not like any production of Amadeus.
Exactly.
Was,
anyway. But the thing that made me really just appreciate virtual theater for the first time in this digital world was the 24-hour plays nationals, both because of just seeing how you actors really like adapted to the form, and then seeing how the writers adapted to the form, and then seeing it all come together in 24 hours, which is just like something that I love personally. Like the community of it, love it. Like not giving yourself time to think, absolutely love it. Like all of that stuff combined really just made me start appreciating it. And after that was like, okay, I can get behind this virtual theater stuff. And I just, being able to tell stories while acknowledging where we're at right now, and doing it in just such a beautiful community. This is a hot take, but I feel like you can actually create intimate relationships through like virtual spaces, which a lot of people have disagreed with me with. I've had like full-blown conversations at work about this. But like I think that intimate connections can be made, and they do happen. And yeah, so realizing that was really just the peak.
I think that's a
Y'all
great.
never had a boyfriend on AOL, and it shows.
Oh.
Y'all never had a full-blown putting like kisses in asterisks boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, and it shows.
Oh man,
Literally.
I do love virtual intimacy, and like I have had friends who have like written plays about that years ago, and they're putting it on during this because it's just too real. But it is a beautiful note to end on, because I've known the three of you for like 2 months, and the conversations we've had and the time that we've shared together is like stuff I definitely cherish for sure, because you're all, I feel like we're all sort of in the same lingo right now. And I'm grateful that you guys are making this, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. So just for all of you to know, Abe Johnson here wrote "And We Will Eat Your Grief," which is going to be directed by Annika Perez Krikorian over there, and produced by Ryan Duncan-Ayala, who's also just like over here somewhere. So yeah, you can check that out on his website. You can check it out at rdaproducing.org and check under the tickets part of the website. And all the information is here. It's also in the fucking link tree, so check that. And thank you guys for hanging out after rehearsal. I had so much fun.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
absolutely.
Keith.
Thank you.